welcome back to the Hawkins Do You Copy podcast. My name is Lauren.
And my name is Emily, and in this podcast we talk about all things Stranger Things. Before we get into it properly, we would also just like to say that we apologise if you hear any loud noises or anything in the background. Everyone, everywhere, have decided to set off fireworks tonight.
Yeah, we live in
night. Yeah,
two entirely different parts of England, and yet both of our outsides are just full of fireworks.
Yeah, bonfire night in the UK was on the 5th of November, and they're still going on and have been going on all week. We tried to wait it out for as long as possible, but yeah, so we apologise if there is anything
Noise
going on.
So yesterday, November 6th, was Stranger Things Day, which has been a little celebration, I guess, that's happened the last 3 years just online by the Stranger Things creators. They've just shared little bits here and there every year on November 6th, because November 6th is the date of the first ever Stranger Things episode, and it's also the day that Will Byers gets taken into the Upside Down. So why wouldn't you want to celebrate that?
Okay, in that sense, it's a bit of an odd concept of why we're celebrating that day, really, isn't it? The day that a boy's life was ruined.
Yeah, let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate him being taken into the Upside Down and very much tortured by the Demogorgon. But there we go. Last year on Stranger Things Day, when the world wasn't crazy, they released the first episode title for season 4, which was the Hellfire Club. Now, filming for season 4 was meant to be the start of this year, and they did get some things in and done before lockdown, but then production was actually halted and it started again in September, and we've spoken about this a little bit, that they've started filming again and who's been on set and that kind of thing. But they have started filming again. So this year they shared some other things to do with the Hellfire Club, which we're going to get into in a little bit and talk about the Hellfire Club and what it means for Stranger Things.
Yes, we weren't really expecting any of this.
No.
We were having a conversation the day before, pretty much, and being like, can't wait to be disappointed again. Not because they don't provide, but because the first year they did Stranger Things Day, we got a gift out of it.
That was it.
And yeah, that was literally it. So to actually have content,
it was a lot of content as well. There was like actual enough to discuss and talk about, and we wanted to do a podcast on the Hellfire Club anyway, because it's been a theme throughout all seasons so far, and you know, it has been sort of a thing. So we did want to talk about it, but for them to actually officially confirm season 4 information and Hellfire Club information was very exciting. So we knew we had to talk about that.
I'm very glad we can now talk about the set pictures.
Yes, yes, because they were definitely Hellfire Club themed, and we didn't know how much we could talk about, but now we can talk about it, which is very exciting.
There we go. But before we get into all of this, you can catch us on Stitcher. Oh, why am I starting with Stitcher? You know what? Let's give Stitcher some love.
Give Stitcher some love.
Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts at Hawkins Do You Copy. You can also find us on social media at Twitter, Facebook at Hawkins Podcast, and Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Hawkins Podcast, and YouTube and Tumblr at Hawkins Do You Copy.
So, what is the Hellfire Club? Where does it come from? It sounds terrifying, and kind of like some secret society, which is pretty much what it is. So the Hellfire Club comes from 2 places, really, in regards to Stranger Things. So a little bit of backstory. It started as the name of some gentlemen's clubs in the 18th century, which would kind of just high profile, rich, elitist little clubs that people had. And that name then made its way all these years later into X-Men comics. And it is pretty much the X-Men comics that have an impact on Stranger Things. I definitely think that the original concept is going to play a part in Stranger Things, because even to this day, universities, colleges, high schools have Hellfire clubs as part of their kind of secret societies. So it's definitely a mixture of those, but it is in the X-Men comics, and it first originated in the Dark Phoenix X-Men comics. And it is exactly the same thing. It is a fictional society within the universe, and the people in the Hellfire Club kind of have a little bit of confrontation with the X-Men, and then they kind of fall into an uneasy alliance with them. And there is an inner circle which has a hierarchy, which works kind of like pieces of a chess set. So there's black and white pieces, and there's the king, queens, bishops, and rooks. And it does stem from this sort of elitist and rich, famous people that want to be part of this society, and it can kind of be passed down and you can kind of inherit it, or you can get involved because you have a big influence. So that is what the Hellfire Club is. And the purpose of it is to obtain and exert power through politics and economic influence instead of outworld conquest and domination.
Which I suppose actually is very interesting then, if we think that in terms of Stranger Things, that obviously we know Dustin is part of the Hellfire Club.
Yes, that can be officially
and
announced.
Yeah, officially announced.
Dustin.
And I suppose if you look at it from the angle that D&D, obviously we'd spoken about this in a previous podcast, had kind of had a bit of a satanic and not the greatest image, I suppose, in the media and society at the time. So it's really interesting actually that he's becoming part of a club that is fighting very much against that, which fits very well then with the X-Men theme, that they're kind of working on the outside. So I do wonder then if later in season 4 that they are going to have quite a big involvement, like more than we initially think of, if they're just going to be that kind of, like, I think we're all going into it thinking it's going to be D&D, because obviously we're probably going to talk about this a bit later in the podcast as well, like what actually was shown, that we had the footage. They showed a little bit of footage from Stranger Writers and Stranger Things, the actual official Twitter account, and it was them playing D&D. So I wonder then if they're going to become important to the party in some way outside themselves, or is it going to be a case of Dustin's being pulled away from that? And I'm very intrigued.
I'm very intrigued by that, and I think it's really interesting that they've only shown us Dustin as part of the Hellfire Club, and that's all that we've seen. They did release some Polaroids of people on set. So Sadie Sink was on set, so Max, Caleb McLaughlin was on set, Lucas, Joe Keery. I think in one of the pictures there was Natalia as well in the background. I find it really interesting but yet they've got such a focus on Dustin as part of the Hellfire Club, and why only Dustin, and is he gonna kind of pull away from the party a little bit? I just find it really weird seeing the people that are on set at the moment and the people that are not on set at the moment, and what that could possibly mean for the party and for the show, and where the storyline's going to go, and are there going to be...
I will say actually on that note, we do know this kind of official but not official, in the case it's for a Twitch stream that Gayton did, that they are filming out of order.
Yes.
So I think he said he was doing parts of episode 8.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting.
They don't usually do that, do they?
No, I think really though it's because they would film it in 2-week block, or not 2-week blocks, sorry, 2 episode blocks. So they do episode 1 and 2, 3 and 4, have a break. But obviously with everything that is going on in the world, they have no reason to pause it because they've written
No.
the scripts.
Yeah.
So we do know that obviously Millie and Noah will be filming in December in New Mexico. But there is one person who is not around, which we know nothing
Yes.
about.
No, nothing about what is going on with that situation. So it just feels a lot different. Obviously, it feels a lot different this time, and I'm wondering about the Hellfire Club and what part that's going to play. And obviously, there is that sort of cliche. They're in high school now. Are they going to stay friends? Is the friendship going to stay there? Is it going to have this influence in the party? We kind of presumed that there will be new characters as well, and it's sort of where they are, like, in high school, and are they the same age, like how involved will they be? And because, like, if they're not all part of the Hellfire Club, then you assume that Dustin's going to join the Hellfire Club and there's going to be already members of the Hellfire Club, and the inner circle of the Hellfire Club, the other members don't always know that the inner circle exists. And I'm wondering if there is this inner circle, if it's got something to do with other things that happen in Hawkins as well. And I'm sort of already trying to jump to a lot of conclusions about the people in the Hellfire Club and the influence that this could have, and why sort of Dustin's been, like, recruited, and the way they did the video on Twitter sort of made it sound like Dustin was recruiting himself. So is he higher up in the Hellfire Club? Does he really sort of get himself higher up? Like, what's the situation with that? And I am very intrigued to see how it's going to play a part with the party.
I definitely think it's going to be a key part of the series, not just because it's the title of the first episode, but also because we seem to be promoting this like this year's Scoops. So obviously with season 3, it was Scoops Ahoy t-shirts, etc., etc. Yesterday on Stranger Things Day, there was a massive merch drop.
Oh, it was insane. Like, Pull and Bear did a merch drop. Eastpak did a merch drop. You can get Hellfire Club t-shirts. Like, there was like a huge merch shop. So I mean, companies have obviously been working with this theme for a while, obviously, for all of the merch to be dropped on the same day. You know, you sort of suspect that they've been told what a key part of their marketing campaign is.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is interesting.
I mean, I know that we are obviously a year from last year when they did say the episode title, but it just seems like such an oddly specific thing to pick out, like the Hellfire Club, to, like, it's big enough to put on the t-shirts. So I think we're going to be, or it makes me wonder then if it's going to be quite a Dustin-centric season again.
Yeah, I'm wondering that. And also, if Gaten has said that they're filming episode 8 at the moment, the Hellfire Club is the title for episode 1. So like, they're filming pretty much the end of the season now, but it's the title of episode 1. So it's a theme throughout. That's not just like a one-off sort of mention at the start or something that's happening there. That's a consistent theme in the show, and it's definitely going to be a big part of it,
and it's something that has been there from the very beginning, though, really.
Yes.
That the comic that, I think we might have spoken about this, the comic that Will and Dustin race for, right back in season 1, actually, episode 1, is an X-Men issue, which actually is the Hellfire Club. Is, I believe, the title of that comic. So that's how, going right back to the beginning then, something that's been there from the start, if you want to think of it that way.
The big bad.
Yeah. I don't know. I find it very interesting, really, that it was so, I don't know, on the topic of Stranger Things Day, though, it is very interesting who posted and who didn't. I don't know, it could just be me really reaching, but I find it very odd that Noah Schnapp, who is Will, said nothing.
Yeah.
I just, considering it is technically his day, if you want to think of it that way. And then obviously Netflix, for anyone that didn't have a clue Netflix were doing this, they decided to post like a 12-hour live stream.
A 12-hour live stream with nothing other than everyone in the show every time they say Will. So it was just a live stream of just Will, where's Will? Will.
Will and Barbara. Will.
For 12
It was so weird.
hours, and there was like letters popping up on the screen, and we were like, oh, it's saying something, but all it said was, hi, I'm the director of this video, I hope my name is Will, haha, just kidding, no it's not, wouldn't it be funny if it was, I hope you're enjoying this descent into madness. And you think, why did Netflix set up their YouTube channel to stream for 12 hours just a compilation of the word Will, and then we got no other Will content except for a picture from season 1 of Noah Schnapp putting his thumbs up next to the Demogorgon? Weird, really weird. Like the fact that
like within the live stream there were some weird edits. Like I think there was about 5 different loops. So one of them had text on it. One of them was just red with
one of them was upside down.
Right down. Yeah, one was upside down. The one that I found really odd was there was one where it was music and it was getting louder and louder and it was all really muted.
Yeah.
And it was a really odd experience. And if anyone did watch it and they happened to show anything in the 12
that
hours
we're missing,
do let us know. But the best thing was reading the comments and everyone just being like, I can't believe I've been sitting here for this long, is it nothing? And then Netflix just like, who's your favorite character? They're enjoying this a bit too much. But anyway, the Hellfire Club,
it was just an interesting choice of day, I think, to just, they just dropped a lot of information but that didn't quite make sense. Like some things did, some things you can put them together, but they said a couple of things that just didn't quite, I don't know. It was interesting. It was a weird day. Like they don't usually give you a lot on Stranger Things Day, you know. The first ever one, like Emily was saying, it was built up and built up and built up, and literally it was just videos of them saying Happy Stranger Things Day, and that was it.
I'm still bitter. I'm still so
and then and then last year it was just like an episode title and some bloopers, I think. So it was the official Stranger Things account and Stranger Writers on Twitter, and they both were just kind of tweeting each other really weird things, like the videos and pictures, and it was just an interesting day. And it was nice to have the Hellfire Club confirmation properly and to see that obviously Dustin is playing a big part, and obviously Dustin is a fan favorite, and I think that it will be a pretty Dustin heavy season. We have said that we think if there is one of the kids that die this season, it will be Dustin, and I'm wondering if that's the influence is that
this was, I think it was on the live stream, people saying this in the comments as well. Actually, it was either on live stream, it was either on the live stream or on Tumblr. People were being like, there is a lot of focus on Dustin right now, and people were starting to get a little bit worried.
But we've been saying this for ages. We've been saying that we think that if we're going to get a death of one of the kids in season 3, it will be Dustin. But also I did read this really interesting post that said about sort of normalizing the fact that characters don't always have to die, which is definitely true. Like it doesn't necessarily mean there will be the death of a character, but we just sort of think if there will be, Dustin sort of seems like the obvious one, because I just he's such a fan favorite, and I think like characters like Elle and Will are going to make it to the final season. Whatever happens in the final season will happen, but I do think they're going to make it there, and I just think it sort of makes sense. So I wonder if the Hellfire Club is going to play like a huge part in Dustin and how he is this season. And
I think on the topic of like normalizing the characters don't need to die, I get it on some level, but I suppose on the other side of that, these characters in particular it's kind of like the analogy of like the buyers had to get out of Hawkins, that kind of thing. Too much was happening and they've survived so much that it almost doesn't make sense, and that's why I think Will and Elle were in trouble, but that is for another time.
But yeah, so it was just a very interesting one, and I think this kind of idea of elitism and wealth and being part of this because of the influence you have really sort of made me think, what if the people that are in the Hellfire Club aren't necessarily great? What if they are trying to kind of recruit people for not so great purposes and for negative reasons? Because all of the history of sort of the Hellfire Club and the history that it has and its influences within X-Men, it doesn't come across as great. It doesn't come across as something which people completely trust, that they completely support, that is completely legit. It seems a bit shady. It seems a bit and I think I worry about Dustin being involved with it.
There are things I want to say that I cannot say because they are off limits to say picture-wise. And I will leave it at that. Let's go to the next topic. It's nothing major. It's just I have a few theories about things that I can't talk about. Not because I know, but because I don't want us to get in trouble. The production company.
It's so annoying
talking about images online.
Set pictures are everywhere. But
I don't think you realise how hard we are trying and how hard
to
we
avoid them
ourselves constantly.
Yeah, and also to try and avoid them. Like I go on Instagram, like I'll open Instagram and the first thing on there is just like, because we follow Stranger Things season 4 as a tag, because it helps us obviously with the podcast, like for any news that we've missed, and obviously we follow lots of different Stranger Things accounts, so people put set pictures and stuff in hashtag Stranger Things. I open Instagram, there it is, and oh, like we've known about the Hellfire Club t-shirts since when? September? Like
it must have been like late mid-September.
Yeah.
Around that. Yeah.
So it is really hard, but it's nice to be able to actually talk about the Hellfire Club now and the influence.
Rather than be like certain characters wearing
certain things. But yeah, so I'm really intrigued to see how the Hellfire Club is going to play a part, because I truly think that for this season, the dynamic of Hawkins and the dynamic of the party is going to have shifted dramatically. I don't think they're going to be in this the way that they've been in this before. It's not that they've been drifting apart, but they've spent the end of season 2 and a lot of season 3 apart now. And they have met new people and experienced new things, and if Dustin's now part of this and they're in high school and there's so many other people, Elle and Will are in an entirely different state, we assume. I don't think
Mike
she'd stayed in Indiana.
MIA.
Mike is somewhere, who knows. Cara Buono, who plays Karen Wheeler, is back at work according to her Instagram now. So I'm hoping that means Wheeler content, Wheeler episodes soon. But
it has really not Hellfire Club related, but I really want a Wheeler storyline. I'm frustrated that we didn't see Mike yesterday, because it's kind of feeding into my fears about what is going to happen with his character. And this isn't spoiling anything like set wise. Obviously, we don't have a clue what is going on with the buyers.
No.
We know that New Mexico filming is starting next month. I think it's been, we know that's done next month. And him not being seen on set is really making me think Mike is going to be over there, which on some level I'm fine with, but I just worry about Mike's character really being reduced to being so centered around Elle and Will.
Yeah,
that's my only thing. And I just I'm hoping that with Cara coming back that we're going to have development for his character whenever he pops up.
Shows his face.
But that's just my opinion.
But that kind of ties in to the idea that the party is not as tight as they were, you know. And if we've only got confirmation that it's only Dustin that's in the Hellfire Club, obviously we haven't had that confirmed. We you know, they showed us all the pictures, but Lucas and Max could also be in the Hellfire Club, but we didn't see them with t-shirts. You know, like it was to focus on Dustin. I'm thinking, what is he doing outside with, you know, sort of without them, and are they doing their own things with other friends? And then is it kind of going to be this, I always think of, do you know in the Scooby-Doo movies when they're all apart and then they all come back together to go to Mystery Island, but they've not been together. Do you know what I mean? Like they were this tight-knit, we're gonna like defeat evil and like capture the bad guy, you know, and they've been doing this for ages. And I wonder if season 4 is going to start and they are apart and they have new friends, they are around different people, they are different, they have changed, they are not acting the way that they were, you know, they've grown up, they've gone into high school and they've changed. We can kind of presume that it's 1986 because every season usually goes up a year. We've never had a season that's set in the same year. So they'll be kind of almost second year of high school and being almost like 16 and you know, that's a whole, potentially a whole year of high school that they've had with new people that we haven't seen. That's like almost a whole year that the buyers have been gone, that we don't know what's happened there.
No.
And I just think that the season is going to start, Dustin's going to be in the Hellfire Club, Max is going to be doing her own thing, you know, she's lost her brother, like what's that going to be, what's that kind of dynamic going to be? And I don't know, I just think that there's going to be a big shift to this one, but then I think the end might be that they all reconvene, or they don't, and it's not until season 5 that we see them all back together, and I will probably cry at that.
My only happy thing with that is that we'll get Will-Elle sibling bonding, which is something I think everyone has wanted since probably season 2, actually, end of season 2. I think a lot of people's plans in their minds for season 3 was that they would actually interact, and they haven't done that. So
because I think people thought, oh, she's Hop's daughter, Will's Joyce's son, we want Hopper and Joyce to get together because they're probably endgame. So Will and Elle are siblings, which is all I've ever wanted. And I got it at the end of season 3, but not the way I wanted, because in order to get that, Hopper had to die. And by die, I mean was captured and taken to Russia. So, you know, swings and roundabouts when it comes to the Elle and Will siblings storyline. But speaking of Elle, we briefly said earlier that there were 2 video clips that were released yesterday for Stranger Things Day, and I think they're quite significant. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, so one was from Stranger Writers, and then at Stranger Things applied underneath with a second clip, which interestingly, not as many people had seen when I last checked. So I wonder how that's going to go down on the internet, because the clip showed unknown person rolling a D&D die, and the number it lands on is 11.
Yes, and that on its own would have me raising my eyebrows, but it was their comment that had me raising both my eyebrows, in the sense that they said it's not the Demogorgon, and then they roll and it lands on 11. And we have said before that there is this whole theme of the big bad, this thing that's been there all this time, that we're going back to the beginning, this thing that's been there, it's the big bad, and that's the theme for season 4 and sort of upcoming seasons. What has been there all this time? What would be going back to the beginning? 11, the lab, the numbers. The fact that it lands on 11, like, I do play D&D, but I'm not massively, I haven't played it for a long time, so I could be wrong on this, but I don't think 11 is a significant number in D&D. 12 is the number. 12 is the number you want to get to kind of roll and get it, and also the natural 1 as well. I could be wrong about the 11, because like I said, I've only been playing D&D for a couple of months, so I'm not perfected the game yet. But the fact that it landed on 11, I don't think that has a significance, unless it has a significance in the specific game they're playing. But then why would they show us that scene when they know we don't know what it means, you know?
It's one of those things, I'm in two minds about the scene, that I know what I want it to mean, but I also
evil
wouldn't be surprised.
elf.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised though if they rolled the die, land on 11, and as soon as it lands there, they cut to like Will knocking on Elle's door, being like, "We need to go," or something like that. Like simply just to go to school or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if that was a scene, if that happens. I'm sorry for spoiling it. But we spoke about this literally last week, about the prospect of Elle going rogue. But I think yesterday really was the first time I kind of thought, they're actually gonna do it, aren't they?
It was
it's one of those things,
yeah.
It's one of those things that I thought they wouldn't, because it wouldn't make, it was more that it'd make a lot of people very angry. I think.
Yeah, definitely it will annoy a lot of people,
but it's, I don't know, I hope it isn't a rehash of season 2 and 3 the way they do it, but I wouldn't be surprised. That's my only thing, especially going by the comments of "is not the Demogorgon," and then the fireball whatever thing, which is significant in itself, because that's what Will does, fireball. But I don't know.
It was not, like I said, it wasn't necessarily the video that had me questioning. It was the comments. It was the comments that had me from Stranger Things and Stranger Writers.
Oh no, the video just made me think, wow, they've actually released season 4 footage.
Yeah, they're actually filming. It's actually a thing. I think a lot of us thought that things was, obviously with coronavirus and stuff, the season was supposed to be done by now, which is very sad. But it was quite late last night. Me and Emily were talking as it was all sort of being released, and it definitely made us get our tinfoil hats on at about 11:30 at night, watching this live stream. Will.
I also though got a tweet from @StrangerThings. Just want to say that. So if anyone saw the Animal Crossing house, That was mine.
Emily's house on Animal Crossing is Stranger Things themed, and she tweeted it at them last night, and they replied and responded, which was really good.
I've been trying for 3 years. For 3 years. They've ignored me every time. And it was like, yeah, okay.
We love it.
We're good now. We're now friends.
So, based on what we had yesterday, the content that we were given, what do you think that means for season 4? Question of the week. What do we think? What do you think, Emily?
I think it's not gonna be a good thing. Dustin is gonna be joining it under the pretense of it's a D&D club at school. He's gonna try and get the others to join in. Mike's gonna be like, no dude, no, like, we're in high school
I'm
now.
cool now.
Yeah. Lucas is gonna be people think he's gonna be joining the basketball team. I don't think he's actually
come from nothing. Like, that's just not.
I think it's purely because Caleb plays basketball, so now everyone is going, Lucas is on the basketball team.
Okay.
So I think that's going to happen. So Dustin's going to join on his own and get involved in something a bit shady.
Yeah.
And I think they are going to use the opportunity to get some information out of him.
Yeah, and I think the inner circle.
I wonder if that is then why Mike probably goes to the buyers.
Possibly.
Throw that out there now.
I reckon the inner circle, that because it did say when I was doing research that the members aren't always aware that there is an inner circle. And I reckon Dustin might also uncover something that he's not supposed to find in regards to that, and find that there, which, yeah, I think season 4 is going to be the biggest cliffhanger we have. Yeah, I think season 4 is not. All the other seasons have had slight cliffhangers. Yes, they have, but in theory, every season could end the way it ended, and there doesn't have to be more seasons. You know, obviously season 3 did end on quite a sad note, and they did move, and it's where did they move to and what happened. But every season so far ended, and it could have just been left. But I think season 4 is going to end on a oh my god moment. Like, I don't think there's going to be a conclusion to season 4. I think it's going to be a cliffhanger.
I think season 4 is going to end then on the Dark Phoenix moment, of Elle's powers just kind of going wild.
Yeah.
And I'm calling that now, and that will be the end of that. And it will be a shot of Mike's face just being like, oh my god. Yeah. And that will be the end of season 4.
Yeah, you heard it here first, folks. There it is. Season 4 finale. I want them to drop episode titles, please.
Yeah. If any of this actually happens, I would like to confirm we don't know anything.
No, we
do not know anything.
We've been talking a lot recently about how scary accurate we were for season 3, and the actual truth of the matter is that we're just very invested, and we do a lot of unnecessary research. And I know that probably makes us sound really lame, but I would rather that than people think this whole time we've secretly known things, because we don't. We just do. Like, we have like a town where we think the buyers are moving to, because we have done like geographical and it's just because we care. That's what it is. We don't know. We looked at where Murray lives, and we did some geographical research in close towns to where Murray lives. Like, that's what we think. So there we go. We don't know anything. On that note, thank you for listening to episode 18 of the Hawkins Tea Coffee podcast.
As we said earlier, you can catch us on all social medias. So that's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Hawkins Podcast. YouTube and Tumblr at Hawkins Do Copy, and you can find the podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Stitcher, at Hawkins Do Copy.
And we will be back with you next week for episode 19. Over and out.